The following content is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.
Hello, everybody. My name is Marina Sprocki, and I'm the host of Always Another Way podcast. I have a master's in professional counseling, and I am the Ibby Award-winning author of Stop Looking for a Husband, Find the Love of Your Life, and Nasty Divorce, A Kid's Eye View. I write positive divorce advice for the HuffPost, and I'm trained in clinical hypnosis. And this podcast is for out-of-the-box thinkers, and it's for those who hear the call of hope and always another way. And if you're very rigid and set in your beliefs, this is probably not your cup of tea. However, you should note, tastes can and do change. And I just want to welcome you all to the show today. I am super excited because if you watch the news and, you know, every day the news and everything gets kind of scarier and scarier. And I know when I just filter my life with one set of information, you know, that's what you see. But I want to show you another door, that there are actually people that maybe you probably don't even know about who are actually doing things that are changing the game. People that when you meet them, you just know that they are genuine. They have a heart of gold, and not only do they see that there's a problem somewhere, but they do something about it, but they do it in such a way you know that it's their good intent and they're using a gift that they have, and it's like this magic that comes together. So anyways, I've met one of those people, and I want to tell you about Jess Garland. She is a Dallas-based singer-songwriter, recording and performing artist. She's a multi-instrumentalist using a combination of harp and guitar loops, evoking elements of ambient folk and celestial tones. Jess most recently opened for Madame Gandhi at Babes Fest 2019 in Austin on September 7th. Jess co-produced the film and composed music for Their Lives Mattered, a dialogue honoring stolen lives by Dallas law enforcement on September 5th at Texas Theater. The project funded by the City of Dallas's Office of Cultural Affairs. Jess most recently received a grant from the Nasher Sculpture Center to record her single, Live Again, and create a music video on the Fair Park grounds. Jess performed in Austin on July 5th for New Media Art and Sound Summit, sponsored by Church of the Friendly Ghost. And Jess received a grant from the City of Dallas's Office of Cultural Affairs for her performance, Take Me Oya?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Oh, yeah. In April 2019 for Dallas Arts Month in South Dallas Cultural Center. Jess received a grant for Aurora's 2018 Future Worlds theme for her performance Resurrecting Gaia in October at the Kettle Art Gallery, and Resurrecting Gaia was featured in New York's Vulture magazine and also listed as a top pick of events to see by KERA's Art and Seek Andy magazine. Jess opened for the Academy member Jinger Shankar for Fortress Fest Presents Modern Music Series at the Modern Museum in Fort Worth, and she has composed music for Art Peña's play Nameless Endless, where she also performed at the Reading Room Gallery. She is super talented. Oh my gosh. Jess, I mean, go girl, really. I'm not done. Jess is also the harpist with the Sunshine Village Band. She's an educator and has a nonprofit free music education program, Swan Strings, which you can donate to if you look that up, that has been recently featured in Advocate Magazine and D Magazine. So welcome to the show, Jess.
Thank you for having me here.
I mean, you're just such a wonderful person. I mean, you're have the most beaming smile and super talented.
Thanks.
I mean, go. So I met Jess at this place called the Refuge Meditation Studio in Dallas, and then I see her walking through with this like large instrument case. And music lover that I am, we just started talking, and I guess let's start at the beginning. Like when did the music bug first bite you, and then how did it go from there to harp to everything in between?
I would say that I got the music bug from from being at my grandmother's house. My father's mom, she had a piano in her home, and her father, my grandfather, I never got a chance to meet him, but I knew that he was a piano player, and I just would kind of pick around some notes on the piano. I remember the first thing I kind of learned was Lean on Me. It was the easiest thing to learn, and it was really cool because I can kind of connect to, it was the first time I could connect to something that I've heard before. I heard someone else perform or maybe heard on the radio. And my mom's mother, she actually played the organ, and she sang in a choir. And so I had both of my grandparents home that I could go to and kind of play around on instruments.
Nice.
And then it's kind of silly, but I like to tell everybody this story. But my parents listened to Kenny G. And I remember seeing this guy with long curly hair.
Now,
So
did you
I
want them to
resonated
turn
with
it off,
that.
or did you like it?
No, I liked it. And especially when I saw him, I was like, he's got long curly hair. And it just resonated with me. And he
Nice.
played soprano saxophone, and I thought it was so cool.
It's really beautiful music.
And my parents decided for me to start on clarinet instead. Just for it to be like the starter instrument.
Yes.
I never went to the soprano saxophone, but I obviously kind of went on to other instruments. I was heavily influenced by some artists in high school. I was influenced by India Arie and Lauryn Hill. She had the Unplugged album. But I really didn't start learning guitar until college. And it was, I signed up for guitar class, but I didn't know it was going to be classical guitar. So I had to have the footstool, and I had a steel string guitar, not a classical guitar.
And can I ask real quick, just for some
Yeah.
people that don't know, what's classical guitar, the difference between...
Yeah, so classical guitars have have nylon strings, and so they're a lot easier on the fingers. And the way I always explain it to even my students sometimes is they kind of sound buttery. That's the
Okay.
best way that I can describe it. Versus a steel string may have a little bit more twang to it, and plus it's harder on the fingers. It has a bigger body style. When I first joined the guitar ensemble at Eastfield, I had the wrong guitar, so I had to get a classical guitar. But my parents were supportive, and they got me, on the guitar my senior year in high school, and right when I went through that first semester with guitar. Studied classical guitar for 2 years. I was okay with it because I knew how to read music still from school, from playing clarinet.
Yeah,
I
that's
played
nice.
through. I didn't play clarinet in high school, but I played in grade school and middle school. But I still remember how to read music, and I loved classical music. So it was like, okay, I didn't know I needed a footstool and everything, but I'm down.
Okay, just like side question just popped in my head.
Yeah.
Why did you quit doing music in high school?
Yes, because, okay, so I didn't go to high school in the neighborhood I lived in. So I grew up around White Rock Lake, and I ended up going to Law Magnet High School in Oak Cliff. It's at a school called Townview where they have other magnets. And, I just wanted to go to law magnet school. My mom worked in the legal field, so it was kind of attractive to me. And so that's kind of what I became focused on as well. And I just decided to go to law magnet high school, and I had been working for law firms since maybe I was 16. And I went to Eastfield first. And then I didn't want to do band in high school because I didn't live in a neighborhood. That was the main reason why. I didn't want to have to get up extra early to go out and march. It just wasn't my thing. But I still,
Other factors,
yeah,
teenage brain.
But I still hung around, some of the band students, and we would have talent shows sometimes that at that time I didn't really have the confidence to be a part of something like that, but I always supported my friends that were doing it.
So still kind of on the side.
Oh
Didn't
yeah,
drop it
totally.
completely.
I always was into it. I actually just reconnected with one of my high school friends that was a rapper in high school, and I was just really inspired by him and all of his friends being able to just kind of rap just from the first thing that they can kind of think of. So that was just always, I just always hung around creative people as well. Even though Townview didn't include Arts Magnet, it was still very a creative school.
Nice.
So I went to Eastville. And then I studied classical guitar for 2 years, and then I transferred to SMU, majoring in political science because I was still thinking I'm going to be a lawyer. And when I transferred, I had gotten an opportunity to start teaching. And so I've been teaching guitar for 13 years, maybe a little bit more now, 14 years or so. But my first job was when I transferred to SMU, and I was teaching in the Park Cities areas and then in the neighborhood that I grew up in, in the White Rock areas, and graduated with my degree. And I was intending to go to law school. I had took the LSAT. And I applied.
You were like on your way.
Right. And it didn't work out the way that I thought it would, because I kind of decided that because I didn't get into my school of choice, and I wasn't willing to go outside of city and state to go to law school, then maybe I didn't want to do it that bad, you know. And at the time, my dad had gotten sick, and so I just kind of stayed in Dallas. And I worked for a startup company for a while, and I did HR for a little while. I've done a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Finding what you like.
You're right. And it wasn't until maybe about 3 years ago. So I was always working like a 9-to-5 job and then going to go teach guitar right after work. And I still kind of do that sometimes today. But it wasn't until maybe about 3 years ago where I was like, okay, well, these jobs are not working out for me. And it was mainly because I was hearing things like I didn't fit the culture. Like, honestly, I got let go. A lot of times. And it wasn't that, I don't think it was because I wasn't great at my job, but I just constantly kept being told I didn't fit the culture. And every time I would bring something up, because I'm a process-oriented kind of person, it just didn't, I don't know, it just was not a good fit. And I obviously just wasn't happy. And so I just started teaching guitar. Yeah. So I just kind of made that my full-time job.
Thank you. Make your own culture, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I was like, I don't fit the culture. What does that mean?
I'll fit my own culture.
Right, yeah.
Maybe I don't want to fit your
Maybe
culture.
I don't want to fit your culture, yeah. I was like, can I just...
Sorry, we went down a rabbit hole.
No, right. But yeah, that's how that happened.
And then you find the ones that you're like, oh, yeah, here we go.
Right, yeah.
And here we are.
Yes, exactly. So I started teaching at a nonprofit in Oak Cliff. It was called La Rondalla, and teaching mostly guitar and bass and drums. And later on, we added voice, piano, and music theory class on Saturdays. That I was teaching, and I was there for maybe about 3 years, and ultimately that program had dissolved. But while I was there, I had written my first grant for the city of Dallas, and the grant originally was for La Rondalla, but for whatever reason it just didn't work out, and so within less than a month I had to find a new venue, my own guitars, and my own students.
Quickly.
Yeah, but I was able to do that.
Way to go. Yeah. Nice.
And so that was about 3 years ago. And then I had gotten another grant from the city of Dallas. And so let me just say, my first summer program, it was in South Dallas. And which was really important to me, just because I'm even though I grew up around Rock Lake, my family's from South Dallas and Oak Cliff, and just kind of seeing like how those neighborhoods transitioned over time. I just kind of wanted to give back to those communities, because I saw that some of the things that was being offered where I lived and in the Park Cities areas was not really being offered in those neighborhoods, and so I made that a focus of mine.
Right, because that's game changing.
Right, yeah. And then I also saw one from teaching it, and it wasn't just La Rondalla. I taught at Bishop Arts Theater. I've taught with other nonprofits like Arts of Vision, and I just kind of saw that my students responded differently than my students in Park Cities and even White Rock Lake, because a lot of times, and this is just on both sides of the neighborhoods, but kids can tend to be involved in a lot of things, and kids get stressed out too, and and they get involved in things that sometimes that they don't want to be, but maybe their parents are wanting them to be involved in it. But when I just kind of saw, when I'm working at these nonprofits, that the kids really wanted to be there every day. It was a big difference, and it showed me just how much that was needed, and so I've made that my mission and my focus.
Right, because some people don't like to go to their home.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's for real. Like, there's a lot of children that grow up that way, where like it's and if they don't have the opportunity for something else, to like see something different, like it's life-changing.
Yeah, and so I just really saw firsthand what kind of impact that made. And when I first started teaching, I wasn't an active artist at all, and I kind of often wondered how that affected and impacted my students.
Yeah.
But once I started teaching for nonprofits, and once I made teaching guitar my career, I started performing more
Nice.
too, and so I got a chance to share what I do with my students as well too, and then kind of saw what a source of inspiration that was. And so I just kind of found that me performing and sharing that with people, just being it was kind of a reciprocal feeling of inspiration. Like I'm inspiring my students and audience members. I'm getting inspired at the same time. I'm like, this feels good.
Yeah,
Just kind of
right?
keep it going. Yeah.
I mean, and how nice is that to just have that as like, I mean, still work, but to have that feeling of seeing like, versus like another job.
Right. I mean, it makes a big difference. Like I have a really hard time. I do still work in a corporate position, but it's only part-time. But this is the only corporate job that I've had where it aligned with what my missions are, with wanting to provide music and getting more involved within the community. Any other corporate job I've had just really didn't offer that.
Right.
And it was weird too when you talk about like, I can tend to be shy and like to stay to myself, but I do talk to people. And when you're talking about your dreams and aspirations, like most of the time people just don't really understand where you're coming from. But when I'm working in an arts organization, or if I'm doing something that's arts related, then people can, I'm talking to like-minded people, and so it makes a huge difference.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And just showing children too that there's another there's another way.
Right.
There's another way. You don't always have to be a doctor or a lawyer, or sometimes I think the society kind of sets us up to not think that you can be successful as an artist.
Exactly. Or something that's not even there yet.
Exactly. So just find your own way. So yeah.
And then look kind of how that like evolved for you. Like, isn't that interesting how that path of like what you loved turned into that? And so maybe now let's spill into like some other things you've done, like taking that passion of your talent with where your views are.
Yes, and so it's been kind of interesting the way that, so I went to high school studying law, and went to SMU studying political science, and I still thought that even though I decided not to become an attorney, I started thinking about why I wanted to do that, and it was just I really just wanted to bring change. And there was a couple of things that also happened that made me change my decision on that, but I just wanted to bring change. And so as I started like getting more involved within the community, I started realizing how it aligned with my with what my beliefs are with wanting to study law and political science. And right now I'm a part of this class. It's a leadership class called Mayor Star Council, and I'm really excited to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And it provides the class, because my class is partially transplants.
Yes.
And so I'm kind of learning, as I'm born and raised in Dallas, I'm a true Dallasite. And but I'm starting to, more people that I'm meeting are not from Dallas, but it's kind of cool because I think that's the best way you can probably bring about change.
Right.
And so what they're doing
And
is
fun and interesting. You meet people from like all sorts of different places.
It is. And so they're teaching a lot about, Dallas history, because there's certain neighborhoods that we may know about, but we don't visit,
Right.
or pay attention to what's going on in that neighborhood and try to figure out what we can to do to bring about change. Sometimes we don't know, sometimes we do know, but we just kind of bringing a little bit more awareness to that by just going to go visit these neighborhoods and just really figuring out what's going on. And I just had my first class this week, but I'm really looking forward to seeing more what I can do to give back other than just arts.
That's really nice,
Yeah.
because that's starting the conversation with people. Like, because if you're not aware, you know what I mean? We're all so busy, and like you just do your life that you can just kind of, blindly
Right.
go around if somebody doesn't say, hey, like,
Yeah.
wow, look what's happening around here.
Yeah, and it's
Before you just wake up one day and you're like, whoa.
right, and it's really helped put a lot of things in perspective for me, because I'm just realizing how just making me want to be more grateful from how I grew up.
Yeah.
And because even though my parents are from these neighborhoods, they still grew up and they grew up during white flight in those neighborhoods, and now the neighborhoods are predominantly black. But my grandmother was a nurse, so my mom grew up pretty well. She always had custom tailored clothes, and my dad, my grandfather, he owned his own business, so I grew up having that as a background.
And just watching people be successful at doing their stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so I kind of have that both of being an entrepreneur and also getting like your studies as well too.
Yeah.
And being able to kind of find a way to combine it together. And so, but kind of going back and reflecting on just spending time in my grandmother's homes, like thinking about things like food insecurity, like even though my family didn't, have it hard and growing up, but in those neighborhoods, you may only have like access to one grocery store. And I remember, riding with my grandmother over to University Park to go to Simon and David because didn't have the same, opportunities for, food within the neighborhood that she lived in. And so those are kind of some of the things we're talking about with Mayor Star Council. And it's just kind of helping me be more reflective and being more grateful and just finding more ways to figure out how to give back to the community. So yeah, I'm just trying to find a way to blend my beliefs with politics, I guess, if you will.
I love
or
that.
the community more, and arts.
I love that. And that I just had on Dr. Sandra Galea, who wrote the book Well, What We Need to Talk About When We Talk About Health, but talking about exactly that, what you're helping with, which is so nice to know that like in Dallas, they care about that what you said there, what makes the difference? Like you saw people in your home, so you had like live examples of people doing things. Not everybody has that. So if you're hungry and you're stressed and people are worried about where, like, you're already starting out like with a very stressful environment as a child. You have no control of that.
Right.
It's like, and you're just, as he said, like, you don't get to pick your parents, so you're just born to who you're born to,
Right.
like either rich or not, and then you already start below that. But to see that like people are making a change to see that, hey, I had this, and that for you to say that even though I had this, I know that other people didn't, and I want to show them that.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, even my students, they tell me, I think when you're learning how to play like an instrument or you play an instrument, like you kind of find different ways to express yourself, and maybe some things that you may have not want to talk about before makes you more open to talk about those things. And my students talk to me about a lot of things and and a lot of their concerns, and so it gives them again another way to kind of have an outlet for some of these types of things that we're looking at that they're dealing with, that they may be dealing with at home. And it's not all of my students, but some of my students. They are dealing with some of these issues that we're kind of looking into, like food insecurity and just the whole redevelopment of the neighborhood changing, just a lot of things going on. And so they get to kind of let that out in guitar class.
Right, that's super,
Yeah.
You got to let it out.
Yeah.
So, let's see. What are you looking forward to most coming up in the future?
I'm really looking forward to, I'm working on two things right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to expanding my nonprofit music program, not to just guitar classes, but to harp lessons as well. And other instruments as well. I know a lot of teaching artists that I would like to employ to help, share, like just kind of more people that are like-minded like me, that are out here active performing artists, and that care about the community, so that they can also show the children another way as well too. So right now I'm in North Oak Cliff. And I will be in South Dallas at South Dallas Sculpture Center again in October, and I'm working towards being in South Oak Cliff because I think that that's an area that is often forgotten. Mm-hmm. You can even look with a lot of developments that's happening right now. A lot of people are looking at Kessler and Bishop Arts and not really looking more south of Oak Cliff. And again, that's just where my family is from, and so it's really important.
Yeah.
Really important.
Everybody needs music.
Right, yeah.
Don't shut anybody out.
Right, yeah. So that's my focus right now, and but I'm also working on releasing music. I've been performing for a while, and I'm often asked about where can they locate my music.
Yeah, I've seen you.
I'm just like, catch me live.
You look so awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. And so I got a grant from the Nasher, and
I mean,
so
that's
I
a
have,
big deal. Yeah.
It is.
Nice.
It's a great deal to just be recognized by the Nasher Sculpture Center.
Yeah,
And
that's huge.
them supporting my work and what I'm doing, and my message and how I am as a performing artist, which is the same thing as I am, same message that I have as an educator. My whole practice is about self-love and healing. People think you're just playing an instrument, but to me it's really deeper than that. And so I'm looking forward to releasing music, and the music video will be on Fair Park grounds. And the reason why that's really important to me as well too is because there was a time when people like me only had one day at Fair Park. Wow. And there were times where the KKK was at Fair Park. And when I even think about the neighborhood that I live in now, it just gives me a perspective of there was a time when I wasn't supposed to be here.
Right. But, and it wasn't even that long ago.
And it wasn't that long ago,
you
know?
Yeah.
And so, but my music, and really just my
crazy.
It's crazy,
Yeah.
you know, but my music and like the representation is always about representing a female archetype. And so I thought about how great would that be to use this beautiful Art Deco that we have.
I like what you're doing.
On Fair Park grounds, representing, you know, a female archetype that looks like me.
Yeah.
Because there was just a time when that just wasn't even thought of, you know, and so that's
super important.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is, and
very,
so
very important.
I'm really excited about that too. It's, you know, it's Fair Park, but it's still South Dallas, and so I'm just really, really looking forward to releasing it.
Nice. So, what would you, if you had to tell our audience anything, like things to look out for, or things to see in themselves, or stuff that you've learned along the way that you're like, man, this is a great tip. I want to throw it out there.
Great tip.
Great tip for life.
I hate to use the name of the show, or maybe not use the word hate, but there is always another way.
Yeah.
There really is. You know, there have been times.
Why do you think I picked that? I mean, come on.
But there have
works,
been,
right?
yeah, it does work. There have been times in my life where I just thought that, you know, maybe I really kind of felt like it was the end. You know, I've been divorced and I felt like that was the end, or, you know, I didn't get into that law school and I'm not going to get, you know, like I just had all of these things that I kind of really put on myself, or just things that were kind of around me.
But just perfectionism.
But yes, oh yeah, that's that can be me. I've been learning to let go. Let it be.
I know where you're coming from.
Let it be on my wrist.
Nice.
Right after a show at Bass Fest. So
I missed. No, just kidding.
Oh my gosh. But no, there really is another way. And for me, it was just something that was really already there.
Yeah.
I just kind of made it. I kind of was taught to have a backup plan, and I don't think that that's like the best way that you should be raised. You know, sometimes, because being raised to have a backup plan kind of sends the message that your first plan is not really
a good one.
Good one, yeah. And so,
I know.
And you know, and that goes back to like the duality that I had growing up. My dad was an entrepreneur. My mom, my dad went to school as well too, but he was raised in an entrepreneurial family. Yeah. And then, but my mom, you know, my grandmother was a nurse, and so my mom went to school, and she
got to go to school for that
right,
one.
Right, and she's working in the legal field, and so I had those two different dualities, and so, but I just kind of went with something that was with me already. And music has always been with me, and it was something that I always had wanted to do, but I was just kind of trying to go for security. So maybe there will be another one. Don't go for security, you know. Yeah. And the security really is going with yourself.
Right. I mean,
right.
It's a trick.
Yeah.
When they say don't go for that.
Right. And in the beginning, I was kind of, you know, scared about being just a guitar teacher. Mm-hmm. Even though I was kind of being successful at it, it just wasn't the kind of money I was making being an HR assistant or an analysis or whatever.
And you even verbally just tagged it like just a.
Right.
Like that's the only thing you can be.
Right.
You know?
Right. And so, but I just went with it because it's what felt right. And I started building up my clientele. And then here I am today with my own, you know, 501c3 nonprofit organization. And it's awesome. Yeah.
And doing things that you probably like, could you have dreamt about? Or are they like exceeding your dreams?
I think I'm exceeding my dreams. Yeah. I mean, these are things that I have dreamed of. But like I said, I would just always, let me go this way. Yeah. Uh-huh. And life really showed me, no, this is the direction that you were supposed to be going in. So, yeah.
So when do you think you like really opened yourself up to like, okay, I'm going to follow this. Like, I'm going to just like go with it. I think like someone to trust?
I think it was about maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Maybe about 7 years ago is when I started performing more. Not doing as much as I'm doing now, but just things like coffee shops and art galleries. And at those times, I was afraid to perform as a solo person. I felt like I always needed to have someone there with me.
So how'd you finagle that?
Well, so that changed because I do like being collaborative and working with others, but I've just have had a lot of relationships that really just didn't work out, and maybe because we just didn't have the same goals and the same mission. And so there have been times where I've had a gig and with someone and that person didn't show up, and I'm like, okay, so what do I do now?
Yeah, not good.
Right, just being just really being prepared. And so now and I still do work with others, but I'm mostly a solo artist. I do a lot of looping effects. I'm my own one woman band.
But I mean, is that how you got through your fear, like going by yourself? It's just because nobody showed up, you're like, well, who's gonna do it?
I had to, like, once I started doing it, there was no going back for me. Even now, like, I can't go backwards. Like, it would just be depressing if I just was like, I'm gonna try to go back to being an HR, whatever. That is just not who I am. So yeah, those are the things that just happen to where, and I don't give up, and so I just kind of kept going. Once somebody didn't show up, I came up with a plan to be prepared for that the next time.
And then, like, here you are. Like, how cool is that? You
Right.
just kept going.
Right.
Going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
That's something I've always done. I never stop. So I think we can all have like down times, but I think the most important thing is to push through it. And I guess that would be a tip that I would give people too. And that may sound really simple, but it's like Nike, just do it. I don't know if I could say that.
Yeah.
But seriously, just do it, even if you feel afraid, just do it. You'll be amazed about how you feel when you come out on the other side. So,
And I'm sure you've had those up and down times as well.
yeah.
Yeah. Then what did you, does music help you? What do you do, like, musically to get out of those down times? Like, do you listen to stuff? Do you play your own stuff?
I do both. I'm very selective with who I listen to. But I
Are you a music snob? It's okay.
I don't think so. I do listen to all types of music. Maybe a little bit, but I do work it out myself. Like, me performing live in front of people, that's me working out. This is my healing process, and so that's what I'm really doing live in front of people. And so that's what I do at home. Like, I'm just jamming out and just trying to work it out, But I do yoga as well too, which is how I know you, the Refuge, and it's very close to me. So it's
so convenient.
Yes, it's super convenient for me to just go and just take a moment. Even just like, I love attending your classes just because I don't really have to do too much.
I didn't do that for the plug.
I could just go and just lay down and listen to some singing bowls. So. But that's what I like to do. I like to play music, listen to music, and I like to do yoga. I love food.
Very nice. What's your favorite on the food?
I love Mexican food. I love Mexican food. I can eat that probably every day.
Nice. Texas, you're good for that.
Yes,
yeah.
Right. I was just somewhere last night. I had the sopa de lima because I just wasn't feeling well. But yeah, every day.
Yeah.
It was my
And
favorite.
do you cook?
Oh my gosh! So I don't. I don't cook as much as I used to because I usually don't have the time because I'm always working and I usually get home late.
Yeah.
But I do like to cook. I just don't do it as much anymore. It kind of takes a lot out of me when I'm having like a full day of working somewhere and then going to go teach some lessons and probably have a rehearsal or a meeting or a gig. So I usually eat whenever I'm out. But I am trying to start to, I've been trying to relax a little bit more, do a little bit of less, and do more self-care for myself because I give so much to where I don't do that for myself often. And so I get groceries delivered.
Yeah, that's nice. That's
That
nice.
makes it convenient sometimes. I went to Whole Foods today to stock up on a few things. So yeah,
You're working it out. You're working
I'm
it
working
out.
it out.
And I would say, like, how important is it for somebody who's like a recovering perfectionist to like dive into that self-care, to be like, even though to stop that like chatter of like I got to do versus like it's okay to like relax a minute.
Yeah, I mean it's still a work in progress, but I'm a lot better than what I used to be. I just been learning to, like I said, just let it go and let it be. It's really not as serious as I kind of like to make it out in my head. And just it's a lot more freedom in just kind of letting go and letting be, instead of thinking like, things have to be a certain way all the time, because it's just, life just doesn't work that way.
Okay, that's true. Now, is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you'd like to tell our audience?
Let's see. I am performing today at UNT Dallas. The music starts at 6:15. I'll be at the cafe there doing my solo set. Nice. And you guys can also donate to my GoFundMe for my music program. It's Swan Strings Music Program, GoFundMe.com/Swan Strings Music Program.
And we'll put the link in the show notes too.
Yes.
For easy clickability.
Yes. I think that's pretty much it.
Well, I love talking to you, and I just love, what you're doing, your attitude, your brightness, and that just like going in and bringing music to people, and just, it's absolutely, it's game changing, like life changing, especially for children, to just see that there is another way when they're just not, through no fault of their own, like in a place where there's not options.
Right.
It's like kick ass.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. And for all of you listening, you know that there's always another way.